down in the car, one time give it all, bust it open hard, let me see you drop. Get down in the car, one time give it all, bust it open hard, let me see you drop. Yeah, we hustle, but the
Oh my. Oh my.
Hey everybody, welcome to Princeton, New Jersey with the Princeton First Aid and Rescue Squad Chief of Department, Matt Stiff. Chief, how are you?
Good, how are you?
This is fun. This is not our first dealings together. We've had a lot of fun working on some other projects, and it all stems around Heavy Rescue 168, an incredible build that you guys brought online back in 2023. But Chief, before we get into the truck, give me a little background about the Princeton First Aid and Rescue Squad.
All right, so the Princeton First Aid and Rescue Squad, we're a hybrid department, so we're paid and volunteers, and what we really strive to show to the public is that you don't see a difference between the two.
Yes.
So we integrate our paid staff, our volunteers. On the street, you can't tell the difference. We work seamlessly together. That's how we've always functioned. We were one of the first paid departments in the state. We've been doing paid EMS since the 80s. We've done this a long time, and that's always been our goal, is to keep that volunteer spirit around and to make sure that it's integrated so that nobody can really tell. We're the primary EMS agency of the town. We're not directly associated with the municipality. We're an independent organization. You know, we're a nonprofit. We've got ambulances that do our normal, EMS calls, and then we do the technical rescue for the town and then the surrounding areas. We're kind of a special call unit. So really this truck kind of came to be. Again, we've been doing rescue for a long time. We were one of the first rescue companies in the state. One of the, New Jersey's unique. A lot of fire companies nationally are the ones that do technical rescue. But in New Jersey, you still see EMS companies that are doing them. So, it's a patient care driven skill. So we have EMTs right on the truck that are doing the rescue stuff. And, we've been doing this since, the early 60s. We've been doing it a long time. And this truck is really an upgrade on all of our history and, building on our previous trucks and our previous experiences to make this product.
Professional service. That's what I've come to know with the Princeton First Aid and Rescue Squad. You talked about career, volunteer, it's a hybrid department, but you wouldn't know that if you walk through the door here. It shows.
Correct.
And the delivery of services matters. And so that professional manner in which you need to present every single day shows. And it shows through your people and also your equipment. So Heavy Rescue 168 is a heck of a build. Like I said, it's a 2023 Pierce Velocity. When you're putting together a heavy rescue like this, there's a lot that goes into the process. Thank you for having us once again.
Of course.
Stay tuned for a lot more information. All right, Chief, here we are at the front bumper of Heavy Rescue 168, responsible for all the technical rescue, but the bread and butter, extrication.
Yep.
Talk to me about what you did here at the front bumper.
So the front bumper is really our go-to tools. So if we're pulling right up onto an accident, we've got everything that we need to start our extrication right here in the bumper here. So we've got a set of cutters, spreaders, battery-powered glass cutters. What's unique about this is all of our tools on this truck are battery-powered. So we didn't have to make extra space for having the cord reels and all that other stuff. It really just allowed us to have exactly what we needed up here and not have to have extra space for reels and all that other stuff.
I love the front bumper play, right? Because with the front bumper, we can nose in on our busy roadways. We're always worried about the protection of our crews. With the front bumper, if it's a simple door pop or something of ease, one or two tools, we can nose into that and protect our crews. I love it. Talk to me about the hitch receivers. 3 up front, it's kind of unique.
Yep, so again, if we only have access to just nose up to an incident, we have to be able to have all the access in one spot. So if we have to have our main line, our safety line, maybe a change of direction, we have all separate anchors so we can kind of spread things out so it's not all coming in one point. We could also run our winch off any one of these connections. It just gives us a lot of flexibility for whatever we need to do.
With rescue comes 24 hours a day, lighting. Nighttime, we need to light up our space and make sure our people are safe under the protection of light. Talk to me about the front.
So the front is really kind of the highlight of our lighting package here. So we've got 2 light towers that can obviously do stuff in any direction.
Yes.
We've got lights off the body, but off the nose, you kind of have limits. So a lot of the times you just put one of those, body mounts that's on a pedestal.
Light. Right.
So this option gives you a full brow light that just gives you a tremendous amount of light. Runs off the 12-volt system. You don't have to have any generators on. You can flip it on when you're driving. So if you're doing a search or something while you're moving, you turn this thing on, you have daylight on the front of your truck. So again, one of the most useful areas of our truck is right out in front.
Yes.
Now we've got lighting there as well.
I love it. And a lot of thinking went into this, and I can't wait to see it as we start to walk around the truck. So, Chief, thank you. Let's get to it. All right, Chief, so talk to me. As we start working our way down the driver's side, let's talk about the Velocity chassis and the choice for going with that chassis.
So we have two major concerns that we had when we went with this chassis. Is one, we were going from a smaller chassis that we were very cocooned in that driver's seat. We had the whole engine block up in your face, didn't have good sight lines. So we wanted to get up and away from the engine, and then also the width of the truck. The Velocity allowed us to go to the full 100 inches of width, gave us a lot more space in the cab, a lot more roomy, and you had a lot more area in the back to move your stuff around, but also made the entire truck just that much bigger, where every couple inches makes a huge difference for compartment space.
Well, when you're talking about being a heavy rescue company, there's a lot of different disciplines, and when you're turning out every single day, you know, until that run comes in, you don't know which way you're going, right? And so to have your water rescue gear, you might be on the road, have to get dressed, you're carrying a lot of equipment within. It just makes sense to go with the larger chassis.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And a lot of the stuff you get dispatched for one thing, could be a vehicle rescue, and when you get there you find out that vehicle's in the water. So then do you have to call for another truck, or do you have everything you need that's there?
So a couple of things that I noticed too with the chassis, right? First off, 2 shorelines, not something you see every day.
So the 2 shorelines is really just to share the load of what the electrical system needed. So we've got a lot of stuff that's charging. We got a lot of drills, we got batteries, we got all battery tools now. Secondly, the truck itself's got to be charged. Right. So we can't have this sitting here with all the drain on the batteries and not have it getting charged up. And this also is hooked into a ventilation system that we'll get to later, that as soon as you plug this in, it'll turn on an air circulation in the compartments to keep all of our equipment dry in case we're out in the rain or whatnot. We don't have to pull all the equipment off the truck to take care of it.
When building a heavy rescue, there's so much thought ahead of time that goes into the build. The amount of time at the conference table is endless. I mean, it's just so many things to consider. Even just putting locks on the truck, right? To have a keypad lock because of the amount of money of equipment on this truck.
Yep, absolutely. We always, you have the set price for the truck, and then you're probably matching that in the amount of equipment you're putting on it.
No doubt, especially with the real estate on here. One thing that I noticed on the Velocity that's a little bit different is you guys decided to go with the fold-down step. Why did you think about going with the fold-down steps?
So we did a lot of homework when we were looking at the different chassis options, and the steps that these chassis come with, and even some of the other Pierce bodies, they're very vertical. So you're basically walking up a ladder to get in. There isn't a nice platform. And when we started looking at this fold out, being able to kind of go more of a horizontal into the truck, it's a lot safer. You have a lot more area for your feet to land, and if you're wearing like a dry suit or you've got your pack on and all that other stuff, it makes entry into the cab and exit from the cab a lot safer.
Not only that, the auxiliary handle, so we have another handle across the window frame there that's easier to grab on, especially in putting the grab handle here too. It makes for entry and exit much easier.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, Matt, so inside the chassis now, I love the space and the Velocity that we talked about, right? But then we have compartmentation throughout, but what I love about the feature of your box is that it's a 2/3, 1/3. So we're in the 1/3 compartment right now, which is a passenger compartment with extra storage. Talk to me about how this came about and why you needed it.
So one of the struggles we were trying to figure out is when you're going to the call, you're putting on your stuff, either your Swiftwater gear, your ice suits, rope harnesses, whatever it might be. In normal seat configurations, you got to worry about the pack, get caught up on something. If it's a dry suit, you're ripping your suit up, and there's no space. So having this set area back here, it can kind of be set up on its own. It's got its own heat air conditioning that we can control. So if you're coming out of ice water, you can have the heat cranked up back here and not have to worry about affecting the people in the front. You have a nice space you can get changed into, just a nice climate controlled, closed off area that you can get your gear on, get ready to go, and then when you pull up on scene, you're ready.
When you operate in a heavy rescue company, you're working in so many very different conditions.
Absolutely.
And so heat, cold, this is a great place where we can have our people rehab, take a seat, grab a glass of water, and condition themselves back to warmth or to cool down.
Absolutely.
Smart.
Yep.
Very smart. I love the storage in here too. There's plenty of storage, and everything I would assume then at your fingertips here are things that you would be putting on en route.
It is, and it's set up so that when you're sitting in a spot like where you're at, you can grab your suit and you can access, you have enough space to put the gear on without having to get out of the seat, which again, for safety, we don't want people having to stand up and move around while the truck's out and moving.
Yeah, and then the other thing I love about it too is because it's right off the main passenger portion of the chassis, communication. Right, so whether it's a driver and everybody else is back here getting ready, or a driver officer and a crew back here getting ready, there's constant communication. You're listening to the radios, you know what's going on, especially how critical information is while responding in on a technical rescue.
Yeah, we had the conversation with our sales team when we were going through this of how we could set this up, well, with the wall there, do we do a PA system and speakers or cameras? And, the idea came, well, we can just, make a divide and split the cab so that it was back here, and that was just like, all right, problem solved. Now we can communicate, we don't need extra technology, and we're all in the same spot.
Yeah, I love it. Face to face, voice to voice. I mean, it's just a lot easier than relying on technology to convey a message.
Absolutely.
I love it. Cool. Why don't we hop out and we'll start working our way down the side. All right, Chief, so when we were inside the chassis before, we were looking at the roll-up that's inside, and what I thought was really creative was the thinking about being able to access equipment from the inside and outside.
Yep.
What are we doing here?
So this is what we kind of consider our EMS compartment. So it's got our jump bag, AED, cold water, immersion stuff. We can access it from the inside, but also if we're already on the scene and we need to pull something to take it out, we're not having to go back into the cab, pull it out from the inside. We have two different access points.
And the first compartment in the body now, stabilization.
So a bunch of different things that we did here. So this, is the commonly overlooked thing. So we refer to this truck as a giant toolbox.
Right.
And inside the giant toolbox is a giant toolbox. So in the past truck, something we really wanted to do better in this one, we had your everyday, carry toolbox around. It wasn't mounted in here. It's bouncing all over the place.
Right.
You didn't have access. We came up with this solution where we have everything's laid out in here.
Yes.
We can just pull this out. It locks in. It's secure. It's not banging into the doors. Easy access to all of our tools. Just nice, simple, easy layout.
Yeah.
Then just working our way back, this is a lot of our common use, just shovels, pickets, things of that nature, and then a lot of our just everyday stabilization stuff that's multidisciplined. So we tried to split stuff up, all the water stuff's in one place, all the extrication stuff's in one place. This is kind of all of our stabilization stuff that can be used for trench, collapse, vehicle rescue, any of the common stuff that's on the outside, easily accessible.
And I remember having a conversation with you guys being responsible for so many different technical rescue disciplines, right? I mean, you guys run the gamut and you cover them all.
Yep.
And not just for your own jurisdiction, but you're traveling outside your borders also.
Correct.
You guys used to run multiple pieces of equipment.
Yes.
But the size and ability of this rescue truck now has allowed you to put everything on one frame.
Absolutely, yeah. We used to have a 20-foot trailer that we'd have to get a truck and then another operator that can drive that trailer to get that stuff to the scene. Now we basically took our old rescue, the trailer, gave it to Pierce and said, hey, put these together so that we only need one crew, not two, and this is what we came up with. Like we were talking about before, just sitting around the table and thinking, all right, when we get to this call, where's the equipment that we need and what makes sense to access it? Does it make sense to have this piece of equipment in the walkthrough on the outside? And each piece of equipment and each discipline, we looked at where does this go on the truck and what makes the most sense when we respond. Our last truck, we ran out of space, and you start just piling stuff on top and piling stuff on top. And how it was originally designed, you had no room to grow. So we designed this knowing there's a ton more stuff on our wish list that we want to get.
Yes.
We need to have space for it so it's not just jumbled together. So when we met with our fabricators and did stuff, we said, hey, you have all this space, but we've got future plans for this. Try to make sure it's all condensed, and this is what they came up with.
All right, Chief, midship of the rescue. What are we doing?
So these compartments here, this is kind of our accessories for all of our Paratech stuff. So we got all of our different ends. We actually had these buckets custom made by Fire and Safety. They made these for us. A lot of the stuff we had to do was kind of divide them up, and we didn't want it to get too heavy. So we have these heavier plastic bins.
Sure.
They get real heavy, carrying a lot of equipment.
Quick. Yeah, right.
So this is set up really custom to the Paratech fittings. They got little dividers in them exactly where we needed them. Tucker just makes a really great product and
sure does.
Got us on the road the way we needed it. On our other shelves, we got our man and machine bag and some of our patient packaging stuff. And then again, we've got a whole shelf up here for expansion for additional equipment.
You guys are responsible for high, low, every type of angle rescue you could imagine, right? So talk to me a little bit about setting up the truck for success in that way.
So the way this was set up, so we have a monopod system that will hit the side anchor here. And this can also not only work for our monopod, is our portable winch can hook up here. We've got the power source right here. So if we got to work off the side of the truck, we've got access to it.
You know, the one thing I did notice, and we'll see it as we continue to walk around the truck, it's you've allowed yourself to have plenty of options. There's plenty of receivers, hitch receiver places, plenty of spots for power. Anything that you need, you can literally work off this truck 360 degrees.
Yeah, I mean, access can really be an issue sometimes on tech rescues.
Yes.
You might only have an option to nose into something. So we need to make sure that we have as many receptacles in any direction as possible. Maybe we only can work off the side of the truck. So we have to make sure that we're flexible enough to adapt our rescue wherever it may be.
Yeah, and especially too, a lot of times in tight places, you're not repositioning once you're committed.
And then to have your guy lines up on the top, we kind of found this out by mistake, is when you're trying to do the anchor on the near side, it's really awkward having to lean over the truck to hook up your system. So the way these are set up is to actually connect across the truck. So you're sitting on the safety of the truck, manning the rope systems there, and not having to lean over to do them.
Cool, let's get to the back. All right, Chief, last compartment on the driver's side, a little bit different than the other compartments. Everything was a roll down. This one is a roll down, but it also has the bottom fold down.
So this gives us some options. So a lot of what you're doing here is your waiting. So this has got our air cascade. Firefighters are in doing their thing. Once the truck's set up, the light towers are up, you're waiting. So this gives you a nice place to sit.
It does.
It's nice and simple, so you're not just standing there. We used to have those little like fold out collapsible chairs that break after 30 seconds.
Yep.
This is a much more permanent solution. Another thing this gives us, if we have to get up here for some equipment or something like that, it gives you a step. So you have a high access point, you can get up here, do service on this, get to your power, just gives you another option.
Yeah, and to follow up on the last little segment there, when we were midship, another receiver back here.
Yep, so this was actually quite the engineering project here, because with this fold down, they had to retract it far enough back so we can have it fold down. So we actually have an extension that will go in here, so it's not sticking way low and obstructing our ground access. It's moved back, we have the extension that comes out so we can access it easier, and the step still works.
It's those little things, man, those little nuances that make a difference, and that takes a lot of thinking and forward thought. Cool, I want to get to the rear because I love what you guys did in the rear, so let's take a walk. All right, Chief, we're at the rear, Heavy Rescue 168. Talk to me about some of the considerations you thought about when designing the rescue.
So coming off the back of the truck here, we needed to have access to some of our reels. So again, having limited real estate, having to figure out how our internal compartments are going to work, this is where we had the space. So we've got our low pressure tool air off the back, we've got high pressure breathing air, scene lighting, and then obviously all of our safety reflective stuff in the back.
Yeah, and then a couple other things too. We got triple hitch receivers down here again. And then what do we have inside this compartment?
So in this compartment here, so I'll get the step down out of the way. So again, our bread and butter here is really doing vehicle rescue. So this is where we have a quick access to our grip hoist.
Yes.
So if we need to have some sort of a mechanical advantage, throw a line on a car hanging over an edge or something like that, throw the hitch in here, run it out, hook it to the car, a couple quick clicks, we got it tensioned, we can do our rescue, everyone's safe. Just a real nice, quick, easy access point. Something
that sticks out to me on this build, right? We folded down the steps before when we were talking about the grip hoist compartment, but we got these two large double doors in the back here. What I find, which is really interesting a lot of times on big box builds like this, is a lot of times the area in the middle of the truck, down the frame rails and up, sometimes becomes lost and becomes a void space. You guys tackled it in a much different way, and I love it. Why don't we open these doors up and share this, because this is what I'm really interested in, is really dissecting and talking about what you guys decided to do here with this interior space.
So like you had mentioned, it's all about space and utilizing your space. So even where these doors are located, you see a lot of traditional walk-ins, they kind of have those doors recessed.
Yes.
So you take those steps in. We really needed every inch of that space. So the doors are moved as far back as they could. This is moved up basically right on top of the frame rails to give us the maximum accessible storage space possible. And then really the access from inside, it's stuff that you normally wouldn't have access to. So either it's too deep into a compartment from the outside, or you have those coffin compartments you got to get up to the roof on.
Yes.
This is basically where those coffin compartments would be, but you have a much safer interior storage access to it instead of having to go up on the roof. This way we've got a nice, easy, lower access point. Just take a couple steps out instead of having to go up a ladder. It's just a much safer access.
Yeah, and I want to piggyback on that too. This is the 2/3 walk-in. So when we did the earlier conversation about inside the cab, we had the 1/3 where guys could get dressed, put their dry suits on, firefighting gear, whatever they need. They have that climate-controlled interior. This then is the 2/3 walk-in behind it, but they are separated. Equipment,
Correct.
passenger.
Correct. And again, for safety standards and just to kind of get around some of the stuff that, making sure everything's secured if you're sitting next to it,
Right.
we don't have to worry about that. So the fact that it's a true divide,
Yes.
all the equipment and the seating spaces are completely separated. We don't have to worry about loose equipment or something like that popping loose in transit and hitting you.
Makes sense. Cool, let's hop in and talk about what you guys did. All right, Chief, so we're in the rear now. The 2/3 walk-in from the rear. There's a lot of big equipment in here. This is what I love about maximizing space on a heavy rescue truck. You guys really took it to the nth degree. This is really cool. Talk to me about some of the considerations back here.
Yeah, so this is basically the best of both worlds of having a trailer, but on a full chassis.
Yes.
So this is really what was the contents of our technical rescue trailer. So we've got a lot of our lumber storage, so just of our loose cribbing and stuff that we use for structural collapse and things of that nature. We've got all of our confined space ventilation fans, some of our patient removal equipment, Stokes basket, Little Giant. We've got our ice sled back there, and then we just carry a whole bunch of full-length lumber so we can get on scene, cut it to length. So we just carry a huge supply of it, so whatever we need comes in the truck and we don't have to have a separate unit that takes it. Behind me we've got our trench panels, and then we have a pre-made cutting station that's basically on a table frame. We can pull that out, pop it up, it's good to go, throw the saw on it, and we can start cutting.
To be able to respond on one truck with so much equipment, oftentimes there's a trench incident, we're waiting on a trailer, a pickup truck, we're loading the panels from the back of the firehouse into a truck to get them there. This is nice to have it all on the wheels, ready to go in one shot.
Yeah, preparation is the only thing that we can really plan for. So if we're prepared
that.
for it, we have the stuff ready to go. You can't create time on these incidents, so you can save it pre-planning for them.
And I want to double down on something you talked about too. This space right here with the netting would be the coffins on most trucks, which means you have to access that top side.
Correct.
You guys elected with this walk-in to eliminate the coffins on top, which just makes it that much easier to use and remove this equipment.
Yeah, and access-wise, it's a lot easier to just basically be looking at what you're in and not having to basically look down.
Yeah.
It ends up being a lost space. It collects whatever things are sitting around.
Yep.
Just a much better utilization of space for us.
Yeah, and I'm looking too, ladder complement, you have your dimensional lumber, but not only that, the other thing that strikes me too is you have a tremendous amount of space to grow into this.
We do, and again, we didn't want to limit ourselves to this is what we have now and this is all we're going to be able to have. We wanted to be able to expand as things change to add equipment.
And lastly, the ladderway above our heads. Mm-hmm. You have the two sunroofs that pop open, right? The latches.
Yep.
It's easier to climb from the interior up a ladder to the roof to get to your anchor points if you're doing a rope job compared to climbing up the exterior of the truck.
Yep, and again, with that exterior ladder that you see on a lot of other trucks, it's out in the elements. So it gets covered in debris, it gets all dirty, gets wet. This is in here, it's dry, you're in a dry area. The only moisture you're going to end up getting is when you open this to go out there. Again, safety, you're not dealing with a wet ladder climbing.
I love it. All right, Chief, so we climbed up the ladder from inside, came through the scuttle, we're on the roof. Talk to me about what you guys did up top.
So again, the big purpose of this truck, or one of the big purposes of this truck, is air and light.
Sure.
So having light towers that we can get light 360 degrees, basically bring out the sun when we're out operating at a fire, along tech rescue, or even to help the police department if they're doing something. We can put these light towers up. Everything's LED now, which makes things a million times easier.
Sure.
You don't have to deal with those quartz bulbs or anything like that. And then the brightness is just unbelievable. Again, our sales team really knocked it out of the park. They had a truck come out with basically all the different light options on it, so we could actually see the product.
Yep.
See how the light went out. And again, the big thing with the LEDs is the filters and how it disperses the light. We could see all the different options and really see, all right, this is what it's going to look like on our truck. They had this exact light tower. They were able to put it up. We went out to a field, saw how the light went out,
Nice.
and we're like, that's what we want.
I love that this is just a large working platform. When you eliminate the coffins and all the other things on top, it creates a large working platform, especially when we're running ropes or doing, any type of tech rescue that requires the truck.
And again, with the way they designed this, being able to operate, if we're using our monopod off the side, you're now controlling these guy lines from here instead of having to basically reach over the side where it's not so safe.
Right.
I can sit right here, adjust the tension, adjust the angles from the safety of working on the truck instead of having to hang off the side of it.
I love it.
Nice
Cool.
little safety
Great
feature.
considerations. Let's work our way down and get to the other side. All right, Chief, as we made our way around the back, we're coming up the officer side now. This is where it really starts to hit me about what you were talking about before, about putting your equipment together in the discipline that they're used for. Talk to me about this rear compartment.
So this is really all of our heavy lifting and moving stuff. So basically the idea we gave to our fabricators that, set this up kind of like you would for like a heavy duty tow truck. Just have all the stuff here, it's all got its place, it's all packed away. All of our grade 80 chain, our portable winches in here, all of our bottle jacks, heavy lifting slings, all that stuff is just situated in this compartment altogether.
Something we were talking about too is access and storage. You have the Cascade on the other side, and it's a 6-bottle Cascade. So because the interior of the truck is being used on the walk-ins, we have to find place for the bottles, correct?
Yes.
Talk to me about what you thought about here.
So a cool thing that Pierce was able to do for us is, instead of just completely losing space, is they were able to put this basically a fake wall around where the bottles are. So we've got bottle storage that's behind these walls, but we still have a completely usable compartment.
Yes.
And then for the ease of getting the bottles out for hydro testing, on our old truck, you had to take them out of a coffin compartment. So we ended up having to rope them off the roof, put them in a sling and put them down a ladder. It was a huge debacle, really concerning safety-wise, being able to get those bottles out. Here, we take a couple screws off, the bottles come right out, send them out for hydro, come back in, tip them right in. It's a couple-minute operation instead of an entire day operation.
That is the thinking that goes into it. That's why you've got to know what you're building and the equipment that's going into the truck before you start to build. Let's go over to wheel well seal. Talk to me about what we're doing here.
So this compartment is our stabilization stuff, again, for typically our motor vehicle accidents. So we've got our step chocks, we've got our patient protection stuff here with our plastics, and then we've just got cribbing that we can deploy wherever we need to deploy it. Another thing that we kind of added in here, when you're moving the lumber in and out, we don't want to smack up our nice shiny truck here.
Okay.
So these Velcros come out, a simple thing just to kind of protect the body, protect the paint.
Something that's interesting to me, and we talked about it, we alluded to it before, but we're going to go in depth on it now, is this air system, circulating air in the compartments. Talk to me about that.
So this is something we didn't even think about when we started designing this. Really, our sales guy came up with the idea of like, wow, you've got all this equipment. What do you do when you get back and you are operating in the rain? You got to pull that stuff off.
Yes.
You got to sit it out in the bay and let it dry. Came up with this idea. Basically, all these compartments have air circulation in it. So as soon as you plug in those shorelines, air will start moving. So we don't have to leave the compartment doors open. We don't have to pull equipment out. Air's always moving. So we don't have to worry about surface rust or things getting wet and moldy. As soon as you plug the truck in, it's taken care of. So again, that return to service thing on the back end is so much quicker, not having to do all that extra work.
Yeah, and it's really just as simple as tubing that's up top, out in the back of the compartment, that runs lengthways along the body, and it just has holes in it. And it's just pumping air through and circulating air.
Yep, and they tucked it away again. It's up out of the way, so it's not impacting any of our storage space, but it's an added feature for all the trucks.
Very cool. Let's keep moving. All right, Chief, here we are, next compartment. A couple interesting things here. Let's go.
So this is where we keep all of our Milwaukee tools. So we've got all of our battery stuff, our table saw we can put onto our cutting table, and then this is where our other low pressure tool air is. So something cool that Pierce set up for us. We've got the other air reel on the other side of the truck. We can run the two of them at independent pressures. So this can be set completely independent from the other side of the Cascade. So if we had to do airbags and shooting struts, for instance, we can run them at the same time without having to change the pressures back and forth. Completely independent here. One other cool thing about these compartments, as we go around, if you really look deep into the compartments, we've got every compartment set up for power. We don't know if at some point we're going to change our minds and say, hey, we have a cool new stabilization thing that we can do that needs battery power, needs a charger. We can add in a charger without having to do a whole new electrical run and make a big project much easier to add on in the future.
Building for the future makes a lot of sense. The airlines here, I love that. It segues right into our next compartment. Obviously air, we got our Junkyard Dog struts, and then obviously our Homatro battery powered.
So this has got all of our heavy lifting, high pressure airbags, the controllers, again, trying to keep all of the equipment here in one place. So if I had to do airbags, I get my bag here, I get my controllers here, my air's right here.
Yes.
I don't have to go all around the truck to get all the stuff. It's all right here. Extrication, I've got my struts that do most of our normal vehicle extrication.
Yeah, these are great, super versatile.
Very quick,
Yeah.
Everything's in the bag, again, all packed together. And then we've got our secondary set of tools to complement the ones in the bumper. Pull them off, we're ready to go. Again, everything's battery powered, all the chargers are here. Nice and quick.
Something really cool that I just noticed as we were walking around before we started recording, you guys have the scene lighting for the entire truck right here with 4 different toggles.
Yep.
I love that.
Yeah, one of the options that Pierce gives us with the multiplexing, with basically you can put a switch anywhere.
Yes.
So we've got a remote mount for our generator PTO. So if you're in the back of the truck, say if it was a daytime call, now I need to turn the generator on, put the light towers up, I don't have to go back to the cab, just flip a button. Same thing here. You get out to do your extrication, oh, forgot to turn the scene lights on, I don't have to go all the way back to the cab, flip them here, turns everything on remotely.
This is something that I'm not overly familiar with, but ropes. Talk to me about your rope setup.
So this has got all of our ropes and our confined space stuff. Again, the idea with having our heavy stuff down on the bottom, easier access, we're not lifting from up here. Our lesser used stuff is up top, our more commonly used stuff is down here. All of our pre-rig bags, and again, having this step here so I can get up to the top of the compartment.
Love it.
Get to our electric cord reel if we need to. Everything's just set and ready to go.
It's really well laid out. A lot of great thinking that went into it, and you know you need to get up high in this compartment, so to be able to put that fold down as the step, great play. And then here we are back up to the chassis now. The beautiful thing about the Velocity chassis that you guys chose to go with was the amount of space it provided. So talk to me what we're doing here.
So to kind of mirror the other side of the truck, that's our kind of our EMS first do stuff, all of our quick grab stuff. This is the fire side
Yes.
of that. So we've got all of our irons, our hooks, nicely mounted up on the door here, making the most of our space that we have. And then again, we've got a space up here if we need to expand, put more equipment in. We've got room to grow again, like we've been talking about with the whole truck.
Yeah, fantastic. What a great tour. I want to work our way up to the officer's door, and we're going to wrap. All right, Chief, so we worked our way around Heavy Rescue 168. An incredible build, man. So much went into this, and I can understand the importance and the stress on the pre-construction side of things, and then obviously mid-construction, make sure things are being done correctly, and then the post-construction.
So this was a pretty unique way that we kind of went about this. We had the fabrication team get involved really
Yes.
early on. So much, I mean, you know, with your pumpers and your ladders, more or less they're about the same, but there's so much fabrication that went into tool storage and where stuff is going to get laid out. As soon as we basically had the rough idea of what the truck was going to look like, we had fabrication come in with the sales team, and from the very beginning start planning out, all right, what's going to be in this compartment, what kind of considerations do we have?
Yes.
What could this turn into? So even the ideas of what kind of power access we're going to have, what kind of mounting things, what stuff that they thought would be a better idea to come from the factory versus what they had to fabricate. Just knowing the ins and outs of what that Pierce specific build is and how the stuff comes from the factory, obviously that's a wealth of information that we would never know on our own. So the sales team was able to tell us, hey, get this and this from the factory, and then we can, you know, maneuver that on our end and make it into what you want it to be.
The one thing I've learned over the years of building fire apparatus is you only know what you know. And you need to come to rely on people that know things you don't. And when it comes to upfitting and fabrication and equipment storage, there's people that do this every single day. Fire and Safety Services out of New Jersey has an incredible lineup of talent within their shops that work on the process.
Yeah, I mean, their fabrication team, again, getting involved very early. As soon as that truck shows up, it's not the first time they've ever seen it. So, you know,
right.
It's not, all right, we have a brand new canvas we had to figure out from scratch. All right, we remember what we did when we did the pre-construction. We know
Yes.
what's going on here. They got right to work on it as soon as that truck got there. And again, Tucker and his team was just phenomenal, just knowing exactly what we were going for and being able to throw it together.
And having a salesperson that is trustworthy and a part of the process, how important was that for you?
That was huge. And again, there's a lot of stuff on the back end. There's so many different options they have for rollouts, for the trays and all that
Sure.
different stuff. Being able to just say, all right, this is what you need it to do, these are your options, and this is what's going to work for you. We obviously don't know what exactly every single thing is out there. They know that, they can kind of fill the gap. We know what we want to do, and they get us that, you know, from here to there of what is optional for us.
Well, the teamwork in this build shows as we just walked around from front to back and all the way around the sides. I mean, there's just so much here. Really well done. Chief Matt Stiff, thank you, Chief, for having us in Princeton today.
Thanks for coming out.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks so much. Guys, continue to tune in to social media and the YouTube channels for the Fire and Safety Services Pierce calendar project for 2024. This is the October build. We're looking forward to seeing you back in November at the next one. Jeremy, National Fire Radio.
Gotcha.